Now that escrow has been open, things are going to seem to move pretty quick at first, but then they're going to slow down quite a bit. The first thing that needs to happen is within 3 days, you, the buyer, have to deposit your earnest money. Now, what that is, we haven't talked about it yet, but it's a amount of money, it goes towards your down payment, and it's typically 1 to 3% of the overall purchase price. And what it is it's a good faith show that you're going to actually try to move forward with the transaction. So the downside to an earnest money deposit is that if you back out of the contract for some reason and you are in breach of the contract, meaning you weren't legally allowed to back out of the contract, the seller has the ability to go after your earnest money deposit if you cause damages. So let's say they moved, they hired a moving company, they paid for those movers, and you back out, they could potentially go after that money in your earnest money deposit. But the upside is, like I said, at the end, it does apply towards your down payment. So let's say your down payment was $10,000, you put $3,000 for an earnest money deposit. At the end, when closing comes, you're only going to be needing to come up with another $7,000 because that $3,000 will be applied to your down payment. Now, before we go on, I do want to talk very quickly about contingencies. We haven't mentioned this yet. What a contingency is it is a option for you to back out of the contract and not lose your earnest money deposit. So there's a number of contingencies that are in place for buyers. There's a couple for sellers as well. But these basically give us timelines to where we have to release these contingencies. So the first major one is the buyers have to disclose all material facts about the property. Material fact is anything that could affect the value of the property. So whether there's been a person that's died there in the last 3 years, whether the neighbors are noisy, whether they've had a leaky roof, major construction, anything like that needs to be disclosed to you, the buyer. The next set of contingencies is going to be your inspection period. Your inspection contingency is usually 17 days, and that gives you time to inspect the property. You bring an inspector out, they look at the roof, they look at the foundation, the electrical, the plumbing. Their job is to work for you to find every single thing wrong with that property so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to buy that property or not. The next big one is the appraisal contingency. The appraiser works for the bank. And his job or her job is to find out how much that property is worth so that the bank makes sure they are making a good, solid investment. The last one is going to be the loan contingency. This is any last minute things that come up with the loan, you have the ability to back out without losing that earnest money deposit. Once we have all the contingencies released, that means we're at the end of the transaction. It's time to sign all the final loan docs, the closing papers, and it's ready for the funds to get transferred from the lender to escrow and then to the seller. And then the very last thing that's going to happen is the escrow is going to send the title over to the county to be recorded. Once that title is recorded with the county, the property is officially yours.